duo picks. 100%. I'm just certain that that will be the way they go if it's left open. And will Jin Air just say, hey, what about first pick Taric? Let's see how we go with Taric Master Yi, because that's another possibility. There was a Yi ban from Jin Air themselves in game number 1.
Interestingly enough, the Graves wasn't actually looked at in the last game at all, and it's the first ban for Jin Air on the blue side, so maybe thinking to stop some of the duos available with the Graves as well.
I think it's just jungle pinch. They've already banned 2 jungles. They might just ban a 3rd one here. But they'll just take away the Zoe to remove something. Now Aurelia is up. Aurelia is the most conspicuous of the blind pickable mid laners, but Yi will not be touched if that one has to be banned. And they just say, what about leaving up a lot of options, says KT Rolster. They're basically saying, Jin Air, if you want that Aurelia, you need to first pick it. And Jin Air say, yep, that's what we're going to do.
And they say it extraordinarily fast. Much like you did, Papa Smithy. Like you say, as a blind pick, certainly a good option. But now KT.
How cheesy we're going, KT. You just played Ultra Standard, which to some people would be cheesy on 8-11. You can just lock in the Taric, and I think the crowd would like that.
Yeah. Seen it be very, very powerful as well. And with Graves banned away, also makes a lot of sense. But Lulu is there to be considered. What is going to be the next pick that Rush is going to lock in? He's looking for the Nocturne once again. But the Olaf can be picked into it, and remember exactly what happened the first game, and that was Umpty steamrolling with that Olaf pick, so he could just grab it.
Now they prized the Lulu over guaranteeing themselves Shen Nocturne in the first round. I think they still will take Shen as, all right, what about a Nunu?
Oh god, we're doing Nunu.
Yeah, we are.
It's happening. And Jin Air are going to see whether they can be successful, where it wasn't on day 1
now,
of the LCK.
Remember that was both of them going for farm duos, and with the Nocturne there, it's still possible that you could go for a farm duo. Mordekaiser would represent that if it was a mid lane choice. Yeah. We could have super-powered Nocturne versus super-powered Karthus. However, then you're opting into Defile damage, and that sounds pretty bad. So when you see Nocturne, gotta admit, it's a pretty good time for Nunu Karthus, because Nocturne can only commit, and Karthus is good at messing up those people.
Yeah. Karthus just wants to be in amongst it as often as possible, and already they've got a ridiculous combination of champions. Jin Air's comp. You're almost feeling like packing it up if you're KT just at this point, but they're going to start by banning the Ezreal and see what they can try and grab for the last couple of picks to round out this comp. Whew. It's scary, though, looking down the barrel of the Nunu Karthus.
Isn't it fun how we had 2 rounds that could have been in any meta, and then suddenly, instantly, the Nunu derailed everything, and we got Nunu Karthus and Mordekaiser in subsequent picks. Seeing a ban on the Renekton. Of course, the Essence Reaver Renekton we've heard about. It's in solo queue, but hasn't been played yet in the professional scene. Where we go from here is fascinating, because Aurelia, clearly not going mid lane. It's going to be a top lane or a carry AD. I guess it could be support Aurelia, which is not awful as a possibility. KT decide no marksman of the top level variety for Teddy. We do wonder if he'll be visiting that Aurelia. So1 is an old carry player, known first for Riven as a Riven 1 trick. So Aurelia wouldn't be too far away from that.
Feels like the So1 way, and has been playing it a bit in solo queue as well, if memory serves.
Aurelia behind Darius, Vlad, and Renekton is most played.
Shen is going to be taken off the board, so that, of course, is going to deny the Shen Nocturne combo. Makes a bit of sense here for Jin Air. KT probably knew that that was coming, and what is going to be the 4th pick here for this team? What are we looking at as far as the options are concerned?
There's so many different ways you could go.
They could have solo lanes to go only here and just have the Lulu Mordekaiser as the bottom lane.
There's really a lot of different ways to go. They're going to look towards the Ornn. So initiation is, again, what they choose in this case. Maybe try to punish members if they're out of position. This could definitely be a bot lane Ornn. You see bot lane Ornn in other regions. Very much a possibility here. There's a lot of ambiguity about the drop, which is something you appreciate. Now, this is a big pick in other regions, the Draven, if you want to go for something that can mess up a Bruiser duo. Kai'Sa, a lot more risky. That's saying, okay, is it Ornn, so I can just get through lane? A hopeful kind of question mark there.
Yep, and also most likely going to be going AP as well. Has been most of the Kai'Sas that we've seen, and that means Aurelia the only physical damage dealer on the team thus far.
Not forced to, but that has been the prototype, like you mentioned. Waiting for the final pick. Will it be the pick duo that was so powerful in the LCK Spring Grand Final? Will be Kai'Sa Morgana as the bot lane duo. So actually everyone picked their own champion. How nice on the blue side. Waiting for KT to show us what the end of this lunacy is.
I guess if things are going to work out the way I suggested, then it could be a mid laner, but could certainly be a top laner as well. And the idea of Ornn Mordekaiser bottom lane sounds pretty exciting to me. This will mean that Smeb is opting into the Aurelia matchup on Gangplank, which is a toughie.
It's going to be Singed. So Singed in the top lane against Aurelia. You can just fling and try to proxy. Many different ways you can play this lane, but Smeb, not a well-known Singed player in history. What does this mean for the rest of the comp? We're still piecing it all together. Who will be piloting what? Seems more and more likely that it's going to be Deft. I would assume on the Ornn, but it feels like it's kind of a fool's errand to call these things early.
I actually assumed that Deft was going to be playing the Mordekaiser, was playing a hell of a lot of it in solo queue. But was expecting the Lulu to be in the mid lane, and that is going to finally be what happens. And it's the Bruiser Buddies on the bottom side in Marta and Deft with the Ornn and the Mordekaiser up against the very standard purple bottom lane that did so well at the end of the last season.
And the good play here is about trying to commit onto taking down the enemy jungle. Right now, it was exhaust heal for the jungle Nunu. I don't know if that's going to persist, but that was what I saw as the last. You don't want to draw too much into that. This comp usually works from the ability of Nunu to separate himself from the Karthus, and Karthus can just farm on his own with Smite and how good the Q, the lay waste is at taking down camps, and the Nunu can just counter jungle and take camps elsewhere. Level 1 will be pivotal for both teams at trying to manufacture a counter here. You really want respawn timers on camps so you can try to attack the Karthus when he jumps.
Yeah, we'll see whether this time the Nunu's going to be able to buy more than a couple of items, because that's all we've seen on a Nunu so far this season. Another option, another time for the Karthus Nunu to work. We'll see whether it happens, and we go to game 3 right now. Jin fans are extremely loud today in the Soli Stadium.
All right, Umti, you're a madman. You have gone no flash on the Nunu.
Interesting.
That's a pretty good way to counter jungle and die. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe he's going to be more calculated than some of his previous attempts at pulling off counter jungling. Some poor games on Camille from spring season are reminded to me. But this is where we're at, and that's a pretty cool starting item of Ancient Coin on the Nunu as well.
Yeah, there's been a few interesting developments at the beginning of this game, as you can see so many of these Jin fans.
We're going to learn something,
a deft
Atlas.
EDG fan as well.
We do have a lot of Chinese fans from the KT players, of course, had a long stint in China for a couple of years there. I've got little gifts from them before. They are very, very loyal. All about level 1, and KT have said, screw it, we don't want to know anything. They actually haven't gone for any aggressive vision, which seems risky, and, well, hopping in, and let's start off with a blue buff steal.
Yep, should be pretty easy.
When are we hitting the lane, is the question I'm going to ask good old Grayson Umti, best friends forever.
Probably while there's minions there. There certainly are going to be, as they are going to wander over a ward, and KT knows exactly what went wrong. But there was vision available here from Jin as well. They've set up this level 1 really, really nicely as Yukao. Be careful, buddy. This is still a 1v2. In goes Rush, does have himself the red buff. Remember, Umti doesn't have a lot of outs at all.
It's a really fun to watch. It's an evolving metagame here. It does look super troll. See Exhaust, Smite on the Nunu. But Rush will have to spend a lot of time just visiting mid lane and showing that he's level 2, 3, 4, 5. So the level 6 will be very predictable from the Nocturne most likely. It's all about relieving pressure from the Nocturne and also maximizing farm on the Karthus for the enemy team. So it's just really evolving. It's going to happen again and again. And judging whether the power farm duo is working is never going to be completely watershed at any point in the first 10 minutes.
How Yukao managed to dodge all of those lay wastes when he was standing in the wall of pain, I'll never know. Looked extraordinarily difficult. But still, now he has a minion wave underneath his turret, and Jin are just going to head as a duo to clear out the rest of their jungle.
Grayson, ducks towards blue and then says, all right, because Nocturne is showing, I want maximum blue buff uptime, so I won't actually clear the camp right now. Blue buff, permanent blue buff Nunu. Permanent blue buff Karthus would be a lovely thing for the side of Jin Air, and we're duo laning in mid. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Whereas on the bottom side, we've got our melees just smacking down on one another. If they can actually get into the minion wave, Deft and Marta are going to be feeling really, really good. The fact that their relic shields are going to be working, as well as the Harvester of Sorrows.
Let's talk about a bit of bookkeeping here. Rush should consider a relic shield. It sounds crazy and it will delay damage, but given how much time he may have to spend in mid lane, it is a very decent thing to consider. Other thing to consider is, let's assume you do duo lane forever. 0CS Nunu is going to be much stronger than shared gold Nocturne when it comes to the impact from the junglers as the game goes on, and Lulu will be able to provide utility whichever way she goes. So if Umti and Grace just draw Rush into being accountable in the mid lane forever, it leads to isolated lanes, which for the Kai'Sa relieves a lot of pressure and allows her to farm up. Jin Air are actually pretty happy if they just see Nocturne ducking into mid again and again.
Oh. Okay, well, we'll see what is going to happen as the game moves on. We had a little check-in towards the top side of the maps. Smeb a little bit further behind than so on, but should be able to clear out this minion wave, possibly utilize his teleport again, but in fact, he's already gone back just to finish the corrupting potion. Couldn't get another dank seal, which is a little bit unfortunate. I believe a couple of them are going to be on the order.
They missed the cannon, but the coin on Nunu was the early spoiler that he was going to just literally be a second support next to Grace that allowed him to farm faster. Very different approach. If you remember, we saw in our first game of the season, the door was set. We saw Bono and Tempt run Nunu Karthus. That was the Karthus independently farming from the Nunu. This is the Nunu literally following Taric style, which is very different to what we saw before. Remember that Bono ended up with no gold at all and looked very, very sad in that particular game. With the coin, it's still not going to be the greatest gold income for the Nunu, but also it's just a very different spin on the strategy.
Yeah, see Smeb going down a little bit low as Rush doesn't have the paranoia available just yet, but he's unseen as he moves towards the top side. Does have the flash, gets the fling as well, as now Soan has to be very careful. The flash comes down and the shield's there from Rush. Easy first blood comes in for the Nocturne, and that is fantastic news for KT.
He got level 5 and just went top lane pre-6 and made something happen. Very nicely done from Rush. The first time he'd been unshackled from his mid laner.
Oh, he's so far ahead in CS as well, 32.
But with the Blood Boil, guess who's going to pick up the minion wave?
I have a feeling it's going to be Grace. Oh, look at the team effort. Umti still has to walk about just as far.
All Umti's asking for is to be in range for any coins to pick up. See? He's super psyched about picking up 45 gold.
Yep, loves them coins. Play waste wasn't quite enough there from Grace. Okay, Yukal, sorry, going to be clearing out this wave quite nicely. In the mid lane, Tomato just taking harassment as they just aggressively clear out these waves over and over again. Both of them finishing off their Targon's Brace when they go back to base as well.
We have double Targon's Brace and an ancient coin, and only one of them is on a support.
Oh, that is brilliant.
It's a funny old game.
And we've got a whole bunch of support items as well. This is exciting. And we've got jungle item on a mid laner that's playing with Smite.
Grace's tilted doesn't have blue buff for the first time this game.
Don't worry, it's up. And they could possibly go over to KT side of the map to do it.
Don't have that much control bot side. Mordekaiser Ornn are going to basically walk up and do the Bellows Breath W thing. Both of them press W, and the clear is all-in attempt.
Speaking of pressing buttons, that's the Wild Growth as well as Rush doing so much damage. Paranoia gets him in exactly the right place, and an easy pick-off on the very well-fair Nunu.
One deep ward, enough for them to go in, and they trusted the fact that Nunu wouldn't be able to turn it even with exhaust available. Bot lane.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage onto Nova as well. He's burning down Deft. Oh, actually doesn't find the Siphon, but the ultimate's there, and Nova now going to throw in the auto attacks. That's another kill, actually, but it's over onto Rush on the top side, so Jin Air are on the board. But now with 3 men strong, heading down towards the bottom side of the map. I know one of them's a ghost, but it's exciting. As Smeb just going to fling Soan around.
A lot of CS this way.
Yeah, this is pretty ridiculous. The classic singed maneuver as Soan's trying to get himself towards this farm.
This game turned very, very quickly. A lot of action, but most of it going the way to KT. One deep ward allowing them to profit in a way that they hadn't been able to in the first 7 minutes of the game. But with the Ghost lasting so damn long, KT get a kill with all the madness elsewhere and say, thanks for the turret, mate.
Yep, Smeb is singing so hard on the top side of the map. I think that's the word.
Yep,
Go,
keep going, proceed.
And Deft and Marta now able to grab their turret very, very easily. The Ghost, in fact, alive for exactly the right amount of time, and now it can head over to the Dragon if they want to. You're going to see what happened to Rush, and yes, he just got destroyed.
Nice snipe, actually. Very long-range Aurelia ultimate did connect there to guarantee the kill, but we've said the hand in the cookie jar quite a lot today, and that was another one of those kind of things where he was like, I'm going to counter jungle, and that was perhaps not the right call with flash down.
Pretty sure UCal has had the most fun so far with the item builds on Lulu. We've seen almost a different one from every Lulu that we've seen so far.
Hybrid Lulu, baby. I mentioned the Rage Blade. This is certainly going to be Nashor's, it looks like, as the first item. The Rage Blade may be the thing to follow. No deep wards on the bot side of the map yet because Mord and Orin took the turret, backed up, and went home. There are plenty of camps for the Karthus to pick up.
Yep, Grace is certainly going to be able to grab that. As Umpty, he's going to turn up. Where me coins? Where me lucky coins? He says Grace is going to turn up. That is going to be where they are. Rudic Echo is now completed, so Grace feeling very good about how much damage he can do to all of these creeps, and as you can see, it's working out very nicely. Only 20 CS is the lead from UCal, who's just been taking the mid lane. Of course, understands that Grace has been cheating, as UCal does manage to grab the blue buff.
I do wonder how, if you consider what's happened this game, Umpty's gone from having complete agency pushing lanes and going to invade on Olaf with a combat advantage to the exact opposite of that on the Nunu exhaust.
Yeah.
He now has no choice in his fate at all.
Well, maybe that's what his team said. They were like, no, come on, man.
We're going to make one small change. You don't get to do anything.
Exactly. And that was because he got caught under the bottom outer turret. That's his punishment. That is going to be a dragon in the hands of KT. Not sure where it's going to go. Mid lane going to be the option.
Now they have double smites. They just walk up and double smite this eventually. The smite's on cooldown for a couple of moments.
Yep. Trying to control it out of the way of the turret aggro, but it is going to get smoked, as you say.
Didn't really have another lane to get to. This top lane was so far away, so ended up being a pretty failed attempt. The proxy has led to a lot of damage onto the top lane outer turret, and KT do have more map control than you could imagine. Again, it's a defensive Nunu Karthus who are only really clearing their own jungle because of the use of the exhaust and the strategy they've employed. So that's why they don't have river control like there was in our first series.
UCal actually going very aggressive here against Grace. Uses the wild growth on himself, and Marta throws down the ram, gets the knock up where he wants it, but that ignite was perfect! Requiem's going to come in. Not sure whether UCal can survive, and he can't, as that's going to be able to take him down, but still the advantage over to KT, as Nova is just going to defect and take down the outer turret.
Second time he's been on the enemy team, wants to be a KT player, of course. Something that's reminded me of Untara from last season. Yep. They also plop in another neutral. That's what happens when you got the Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser has a Ghost, the Rift Herald summoned as well. Now the mid lane is taken down. The safe farming strategy of dodging lane and not being punished is probably going to be gone. So all they really have to show for the first 11 minutes is a 25 CS lead, a couple of kills, but the rest of the map, the members that aren't Karthus are on life support for the side of Jin Air and KT, are definitely buffed up.
Yeah, and UCal, his picks is doing work this game. You're exactly right about the Nashor's Tooth coming in. Could have potentially been a Trinity Force, because that was what Freak recommended in the Champion Spotlight, if I remember correctly. He's just able to get so much auto attack damage. You can see Grace, he was definitely not expecting UCal to just go battle mode and take him down.
Lulu damage, underrated. You're right, very opportunistic from UCal, who's had a great series, was MVP of our first game. Deft and Marta, just picking up the 2v2 kill was the big thing the coach will point to, because that's where things have just snowballed out of control, because the Bruise Bros of Mord and Orin just took down bot lane instantly with a ranged support to help them.
And when Mordekaiser was ridiculously busted, I believe it was 2015, something like that.
2015 Worlds.
I remember, yeah, Deft and Marta were, well, Deft at least, was fantastic at the champion, him and Mako at the time. Unfortunately, the performance that particular world is not one that I really want to talk about.
No, not so much. Don't know if I want to talk about the Nunu build here of Raptor Cloak and Nomad's Medallion.
So far, we've had the most welfare Nunus in existence here in the LCK.
I need Trick to go back on it to see what he can bring.
What kind of impoverished build can you offer?
Well, Banner of Command is what he would like to build, and ostensibly the upgrade on the Nomad's Medallion.
Well, speaking about upgrading, Deft goes back and turns his Blasting Wand into a Rylai's Crystal Scepter. We've got the Nashor's Tooth completion. We've got Leandri's Torment for Smeb. Everything's been upgraded for KT.
First rush on Leandri's Smeb we've had in the LCK. Smeb. Singed we've had in the LCK, so not going for a gap close item like Shirelia's or the Righteous Glory. Rylai's another big favorite. He's going for the maximum damage build.
I like it. Nothing to really challenge him at the moment. And he just wants to kill creeps real fast. Move minion waves to turrets. Yeah, their map is getting smaller and smaller as this game goes on.
CS lead for the Karthus also getting smaller and smaller because KT is spending the time taking away the camps the Karthus picking up before.
Yeah, and Rush is the beneficiary of this, and he's now 2,000 gold ahead of his opposite number, but I guess you could have a look at the Karthus as far as how much gold he's taken. And as far as that jungle mid duo is concerned, KT are so far ahead.
Yeah, it really fell apart with Jin because if they had been able to hold Mordekaiser and Ornn in lane for a lot longer, the problems wouldn't have snowballed so quickly. Wouldn't have been an 11-minute turret take, would have been a 15 to 18 minute, would have been more items. They've slowed down that hard farming of Jin to a point where there's just not enough resource on the map to farm that KT just through farm is going to grow a bigger and bigger lead. 14 minutes already. 5,500, and there's just no real mechanic for Jin right now to get gold back into this game. They don't have true engage. They don't have enough damage on their Karthus working towards its first full item in the Morellonomicon. Without the map control or the ability to contest for map control, the Singe is definitely looking like a masterstroke because Smeb did his job, Deft demanded more than their assignment, and now the map is so narrow for Jin.
And it was so scary seeing that Aurelia come through because she's been such an incredibly dominant pick. We saw Ian with his quadra kill to open up the LCK against BBQ. But Sohan is just doesn't have any options as Teddy. Very cute steal.
My true opinion, I said this with Brendan yesterday, is that I think the top Aurelia may be the 4th best role for the Aurelia, even though, of course, it used to be her prototypical role. I think mid lane for sure is #1, and then I think both bot lanes might be better, support and carry. Because top lane, there's so many champions who work against her. There's skill matchups, there's scrapping matchups, there's a matchup like Singe where you just ignore and can push in, and Aurelia holding a wave in mid lane and then ult when the jungler comes, that's very easy. But there was never any control for Aurelia to make those sort of plays in the 1v1 against Singe.
Yeah, and Aurelia always was that champion that does very happily sit underneath the turret. That's why she was so good in the lane swap meta of ages past. KT, 6,000 gold is going to be the lead here. It almost crept up on us because there hasn't been as many kills as a lot of the games today. Rush is going to take down this dragon. Deft wants to come over and get an attack on it, as Rush looks like he's going to hold it just so that Deft can pick up his pet. And it's going to be that. Takes that one down, picks up Mr. Dragon. See whether he goes for the flanking dragon play. That's my favorite. Just move the dragon behind the turret.
What are we going to name this dragon? Let's name it Wraith.
Oh, okay. Wraith, he's defected as well. This is all about supports defecting.
One at a time. Oh, Wraith got smited. Do still have 2 smites, so definitely pulling this off in the mid lane and getting much value out of it's difficult, even with the Rylai's.
Deft just stopped controlling himself entirely and is just controlling the dragon.
He's playing a mini-game in a game. It's so meta.
That's why Mordekaiser is so fun, Papa. You can play as so many different characters. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, you know, you turn into a bee and stuff. And we got a fight on the top side of the map. The dive is oh so good, but it is going to spell the end of Rush after he grabs himself a kill. Smeb, very tanky underneath this turret as Yukao has to ult himself just for safety. Still has the flash available to him, and Nova survived for a very long time. In the end, it is going to be kill advantage going over to KT, but that was messy to say the least.
Is Teddy online enough to actually start fights? He's been just completely not mentioned by us at any point because it hasn't really been relevant in the early parts of this game. Only the Rage Blade, probably going to be the AP build that you alluded to earlier. Still not 100% committed to that. The slow ramp-up time of the Kai'Sa when you're against Mordecai has been fully exploited after that mistake from Nova took that bot lane turret early.
Yeah, but Teddy is doing Teddy things, catching himself up in farm, doing what he can to take as many resources off the map as possible. But that lead has continued to rise for KT. They've been pretty lucky on the Dragons as well, as another mountain is going to mean that KT's ability to pick up Baron buff will be very, very fast indeed. Especially with the fact that Yukal's going this on-hit build. You've got Deft offering a fair bit of damage. If Smeb's over there, he's got a Leandri's Torment, and Rush does a heck of a lot. He's already got his Duskblade of Drakthar completed.
Couple of daggers in the inventory from Teddy does suggest the AD build. Rather than the ability power we were mooting about.
Could be Nashor's.
Could be Nashor's, you're right. It's, of course, not pigeonholing himself. He's just going for as much stats as possible.
Yep. Can I please buy some items? Please, shopkeep.
Slowly, slowly for Jin Air. They really want to go full Jin Air. KT-esque, I guess, from game number 1 and pull this one long.
Yep.
Wasn't able to spy with my little eye how many Gathering Storms they're running.
You were talking about Smeb's build and needing to go for the super speedy option. Shirley's Revelry will certainly do that. It looks like it's next on the docket here for Smeb. KT moving down towards the bottom lane though. As 3 members of Jin Air just stuck dealing with this bannered up minion, pesky banner minion in the mid lane. Marta 2-0 and 3 on the Ornn. Great performance so far.
It was a nice pick for him when Ornn was at his highest power level in the support role early in spring season. Fell away after that. I'm sure they were hedging their bets with the Ornn and deciding where to put it later.
Yep. Yukal just being frustrating. He's going to just not really care about the backdoor bonus and take down this inner turret. So that's 2 for the price of 1 here for KT, who are just moving between the lanes, taking jungle camps. This lead is only extending as Yukal's in trouble, uses the wild growth. Can he actually turn it? As that's the 1-for-1 coming in. The Requiem was what took down Yukal, and I felt like he could possibly have even taken that 1v1. Teddy looked for it, couldn't find it.
And the flash down from Teddy as well, flashed after the Nocturne was already going, so no way to get away from that damage. Was cleaned up easily. Not worth it in my opinion for the side of Jin Air. The flash even more consequential. The long cooldown that comes through on the Requiem. Not able to back this one up. The item's still not there for Grace. And this is the inevitability I saw. This is what happens when you run these Bruiser comps and one of them gets ahead. We haven't seen a Mordekaiser get ahead in a while, but they've been able to get access to so many more resources than have been available to the side of Jin Air that this stall is feeling like a death knell to the hopes of Jin Air Greenwings.
Yeah, just a little bit of a disaster. Jin Air, okay, moving the Karthus, sorry, to the mid lane to pick up this wave that Def's delivering, but when is going to be the opportunity for the Baron? Has just spawned. Got Mountain Drake coming up in about 1.5 minutes, and Marta has so much deep vision available. Look at all of the red wards. They are pinging on the Baron right now. This is going to be a very early one. But as you can see, they got a fair bit of damage, and they should be able to just tank this one up pretty happily.
And the enemy team can't see anything until this one bit of spot vision goes down. The Baron will be cleaned up by KT very easily.
Not anything that they could do about it whatsoever. They were just wandering over wards, and they had to take the time to clear them out. Just wasn't doing. And we've got an 11,000 gold lead at 21 minutes. Just feels like it's been slowly extending and extending as this game goes on.
That was unfortunately the reality. It's why I said, what is the comeback mechanic for the side of Jin Air? You've got a hard farming duo that can't get to farm. You've got an Aurelia that's being out-dueled by the Singed and pushed in many a time, so she's under an inner turret because of that. And Kai'Sa Morg aren't going to be able to do anything other than wave a white flag when they see the duo of the Bash brothers coming along in Mordekaiser and Ornn. Just with how the matchups played out in this game, losing mid lane turret was basically losing the game.
So far, it's certainly worked out that way. 2.5 minutes here for KT. They don't exactly have the best siege. We want to try and find good things to talk about for Jin Air. Teddy taking down to half health though, as Yukal just happily dancing. He's had a great day today for KT. Doesn't have his backup in pawn anymore. He's the sole mid laner here for KT, but must be feeling good about that one. For now, Rush just lying in wait, trying to get paranoid on someone. So they're being annoying. So the 1-3-1 is certainly how they're going to be pushing these waves in, just because it is going to stretch Jin Air a little bit thinner, allow some turret damage.
Pushing them in multiple lanes. First turret falls on the top side as on-hit Lulu.
Yeah.
messing up some balls. I guess structures for now.
Does also have him rolling Omicron, so a fair bit of AP here as well, but that's just going to be all of them going down in quick succession, one after the other. Looking for a potential ability to get onto Def, but no, it's going to be Rush with the engage. Flashes after, uses the stopwatch, but Teddy is going to survive for the moment. Can this be an overextension here for Jin Air? I'm not entirely sure. So on, he's going to go down. Look at how fast Smebib is wanting to just throw someone back into his team. But it looks like KT, they just want to take down the structures. Looks like the 2-0 for KT is happening so much earlier than in game number one. It was a 40-minute slugfest that time around. Now 23 minutes in, the Requiem is just there because he can on the side of Grace, and that's going to be that KT with the 2-0.
KT in the first game, bring it back to the slow meta and say, we will endure. In the second game, they see Nunu Karthus and they dispatch it without even blinking. KT Rolster looking very formidable. It wasn't exactly the way we thought they would. We did not think they would come in and play controlled when they had the option of going for more of this style. But they can also scrap with the best of them, and they certainly out-scrapped Jin Air.
Yeah, I love the fact that they can move to the style that we were probably more expecting from KT moving into this matchup. If you had a look at Def's solo queue recently, then that has certainly been what he's been playing. A heck of a lot of Mordekaiser has been in there, so this is what I was wanting out of KT when we moved into game number one. They surprised the heck out of me by playing the least KT composition possible. But the Sad Planes, once again, are going to be flying. It's not exactly the biggest test here for KT. We were talking about the fact that it was more of a middle-ranked team on the side of Jin Air. Still want to see more out of KT when they face some of their bigger opponents, but Jin Air made a slight adjustment. Of course, Kakao hasn't been seen just yet, but Nova on the bottom side of the map, struggling a little bit in game number two, and otherwise hasn't turned too many heads so far here for Jin Air.
But we never draw too much from the first series or even the first round robin. True. When it comes to KT. It is a new dawn. Yukal is their only mid laner. People saw the fact that Pawn wasn't on the roster and said this will mean KT will struggle. But of course, people who stuck with KT towards the end of spring knew Yukal would have been by far the starting player. We were seeing very little of Pawn anyway. Yukal had a fantastic series, even the on-hit. Lulu was popping off in this game. Speaking of popping off, Arthas with free farm with all the gold was able to do 11,000 damage. And Nunu with no farm, you know, it's not the lowest ever, but it's less than 612, so it's not so good.
Yeah, it feels like they were more of a combo situation anyway, so I'm not going to blame you too much, but the Nunu Karthus was not really what it was touted to be when we were hearing about the stories of solo queue. And I wasn't expecting Jin Air's composition to have this much trouble, but when Marta and Deft get ahead on the bottom side early, when Teddy can't do anything for Jin Air, you know that that's always going to spell bad news.
Probably the least time we've said Teddy's name in any Jin Air game, because he just was a passenger on a pretty bad bus, I guess, because he was just kind of like, well, I lost my turret.
Passenger off a cliff.
Yeah, it was Struggle Street that time for Teddy.
Who's going to be the MVP? It's once again going to be Yukal in the mid lane. They have that solo MVP interview at 4-2-2.
And I think if KT are to go on to do well, even to win the regular season, we're not talking about playoffs just yet, I think this man will be the overall MVP because he is a true star. Still 17 years old, only turned 17, and was legal to play at the end, January 30th, I believe it was, this year. So very, very young, a 2001 birthday. And he is wise and also just smart beyond his years. Comes in. This is a very nice ward put down earlier that allowed them to get the kill. But after bot lane was also able to bruise through, it felt like KT's game was pretty much locked in.
Yeah, Deft with the fadeaway. Cool guys don't look at explosions, and Nova is able to defect and take down the turret. Here in the mid lane, I mean, Marta as well needs an honorable mention. Certainly played out the Ornn fantastically well. And able to team up with Deft and get the work done. He almost died to that Requiem, didn't actually notice that, but it is where Yukal fell. But this fight is absolutely insane. Setting it up for Rush, and that shouldn't have happened, honestly. Last fight, all about Rush just being gigantic.
Yeah, KT comically ahead at this point, so obviously we're not going to be hyping too much on Lulu auto-attacking a lot and pressing some utility abilities on Singed and friends, as Singed was just able to go so damn fast with his passive there. Slipstream picking up from the enemy champions, a happy, happy time, and we're going to have an extended interview with that man in the mid lane, Yukal.
Yeah, it's going to be just Yukal this time around, so we do manage to get a few more words out of him, so let's throw it over to Andy for some translation.
KT Rolster picks up a convincing victory against Juneo Greenwings.
전통의 여름 강팀 KT의 승리의 견인차 역할을 한 선수들과 인터뷰 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
We're here with Yukal of KT. So you're now ranked first in the MVP ranking. Hello, I'm Yukal of KT. I'm the middle laner of KT. It feels good to take the convincing victory in our day one of LCK Summer. I mean, you look really happy. I mean, now you look more like a veteran now. And next to you is Rush, who was also very instrumental to your victory today. Would you like to introduce yourself? Hello, I'm the jungler of KT, Rush. So first of all, I want to say something to you, Rush. You've shown amazing performance on Nocturne today. Like, it was almost like watching a missile fly by. So we do have a highlight reel prepared. So let's have a look at the highlight reel. So here, you use the ult, you use the paranoia, and then the enemy opposition lost their side, and then you just go in deep inside their enemy terrain. You know, I am really sorry to my teammates for doing this. No, first, like initially, I just wanted to make everything dark and just look how things go, and then I just had to go in, and it wasn't a wise move. If you just rush in like that, your teammates could, just get like startled, right? So honestly, Yukal, what was your feeling when Rush just went in? We were told that we were not gonna go in, and then Rush just single-handedly, rushed into the enemy terrain. Rush was probably struggling between the internal rush and the outer rush. But in the end, KT fights back really well and is able to take the victory. It was a back and forth match overall. So what was your mindset going into this game?
대회장 오기 전엔 잘 몰랐는데 막상 픽밴 할 때 보니까 저희가 평상시보다 좀 힘든 상황이라고 생각해서 전부 다 참고 어차피 저희가 중후반 가면 이길 수
During the picks and bans, we had a lot of thoughts, and we didn't really expect the Karsus and the Nunu.
보니까 잘 된 것 같습니다.
그러면 이런 원딜 대 원딜 대 매치업에 대해서는 어느 정도 예측을 하고 또 준비를 잘 하신 건가요?
In the ADC versus ADC matchup in the current meta, did you expect them to go with the opposition bot lane?
어느 정도 예상을 하고 들어갔습니다.
Yes, we predicted that they would pick Kai'Sa.
연속적으로 활용하는 가운데 아이템 선택에 대해서도 좀 저는 눈에 띄었던
So I just want to ask you about the item build.
수호 천사를 올리는 선택을 이런 걸 하시더라고요.
You actually went for an early Guardian Angel. So what was the idea behind it?
제가 아이템을 좀 더 올리더라도 제 데미지 조금 때문에 상대방이 죽냐 안 죽냐가 바뀌는 상황은 아니라고 판단해서
even if I raise my damage, it wasn't really gonna affect whether the enemy dies or not. So I picked survivability and I prioritized it. So yeah, that's why I went for Guardian Angel. And Rush, you seem like a very logical man when you're speaking.
그리고 유카이 선수 선수한테도 어찌 보면 많은 미드라이너 팬분들이 또 궁금하신 거기도 한데
So Yuko, a lot of fans are curious as to
챔피언이 편중돼서 나오는 경향이 있잖아요. 미드 예를 들어 정통 AP 뭐 이런 거 조이와 뭐 카르마 룰루 뭐 뭔가 몇 개를 제외하면 잘 안 나오는 듯한 느낌인데
No,
좀 쓸만한
the
챔피언이
mainstream
있을까요?
like mid champions right now are like Zoe and Talia. So what else do you think you can implement in the mid lane?
성능이 안 좋더라도 충분히 나올 수 있다고 생각하기 때문에
I feel like a lot of the other champions can be used quite competitively in the mid lane.
정글러와의 어떤 그러면 조합이 굉장히 중요하다 이런 거.
And you always emphasize that the jungle and the mid synergy is very important in the league.
그런 부분에 있어서 저는 2세트 경기가 굉장히 인상적이었던
So you know, in the second set really seemed very inspirational to me.
카서스노는 카노 조합을 뽑았어요. 근데 거기에 대해서 어떻게 보면은 거의 완벽한 대처법을
두 선수가 같이
You know, the enemy picked Karthus Nunu, and it felt like you countered that competition really hard, Yuko.
막는 이런 플레이인데 연습 과정에서 이게 파이법이더라고 좀 깨달음을 얻으신 건가요?
So
아니면
do you really know what the counter is to that competition?
들어볼까요?
저희가 그 뭐 마이타릭이던 카오스 누누건 그 스크림에서 많이 만나봤기 때문에
Whether it be Mastery or Mastery Taric or Karthus Nunu, we've met a lot of them in the scrims,
이도 실제로 해보고 하면서
and we experimented a lot, and we definitely found this counter to this competition.
네, 지금 약간 어색한 웃음을 짓고 있는데 확실히 그런 공속 기반의 룰로 뭐 때리는 맛은
You know, like your Lulu went for Nashers and was focusing on attack speed.
어떤 근거인지 룰루 유저분들을 위해서 설명 좀 부탁드릴게요.
So that's not too conventional on Lulu. So what are your thoughts on that?
템을 가도 이길 거라 생각하기 때문에
You know, I felt like even if I went for attack speed, I knew I would win the game.
그리고 러쉬 선수한테도 또 질문하고 싶은 게
So Rush, I want to ask you something.
재밌게 나오는 얘기 중에 카노 대 마타 뭐 누가 뭐가 더
You know, people are debating about Karthus Nunu versus Mastery Taric. Which one's stronger?
개인적으로 어떤 게좀
So,
선호되는 것 같으세요?
Rush, what do you think?
저는 제 생각에는 카서스만 잘하면은 카서스 누누가 정말 최강이라고
Personally, I feel like if the Karthus player is really proficient, the Karthus Nunu can overpower almost any other competition.
마이타릭 조합이 이팀 같은 경우에 더 좋지 않을까 싶어요.
정글러 입장 잘 들어봤고요. 미드라이너 입장도 저희가
Okay, that was the jungler's perspective. Now let's listen to the mid laner's perspective.
카오스 입장에서는 누누가 못하면 힘들거든요.
You know, in Karthus' perspective, if Nunu is really bad, it's just really hard to play as a Karthus.
갑자기 훈훈하게 마무리가 되면 약간 아쉬울 수가
So
있어요.
there was the perspective of the jungler and the mid laner.
잘 죽습니다.
그러면 러시 선수에게 마지막 질문으로
Rush, last question for you.
누가 더 많이 잘하는 것 같다. 이 정도는 마이크
Between
선수가
you and Score,
잘하잖아요.
who do you think is a better Mastery player?
저희 여기 오기 전에 동빈이 형 마이타릭 한번 시켜드렸거든요.
You know, before coming here, I let Score play Mastery Taric combo, and the result was bad.
뒤에서 스코어 선수도 계속 준비를 할 수 있을 것 같고 이 세트에 또 멋있었던 장면 준비돼 있다고 하니까는 그거 잠깐 또 보면서
Okay, we have another highlight reel.
하겠습니다. 이 장면도 룰루 화력이 생각보다 어마어마하고
You know, Lulu is actually dishing out a lot of damage.
겁이 나긴 하는데 그냥 저의 무빙을 믿고 했던 것 같습니다.
You know, I trusted my mechanics and I was able to play with confidence.
때릴 때도 뒤에 굉장히 강력한 애라는 느낌이 있지만 맞게 되면 한 번 맞았을 때 막 놀라지 않아요, 좀?
네, 근데 저는 카오스 큐를 맞아본 적이 없기 때문에
You know, I never get hit by Karthus Q, so I'm not really scared of Karthus. I can just dodge it.
그 전까지 맞아본 적이 없었지만은
상대방이 기분 나쁠까봐 몇 대 맞아준 거예요.
You know, I felt sorry for the enemy Karthus, so I just intentionally got hit by the Q sometimes.
또 아까도 잠깐 말씀드렸지만은 사실 지난 스프링만 하더라도 최연소라는 타이틀.
You know, last spring, Yukao, you were the youngest member in the LCK. Now that's no more.
2001년생 그리핀의 초비 선수라 모티브.
So Griffin's Chovy, who was born in 2000, is now officially the youngest member in the LCK.
뭐 조언 같은 거 혹시 해줄 게 있다면.
So do you have any advice for the new rookies?
신인이니까 기죽지 않았으면 좋겠고.
As a rookie, I hope you are not
오히려 신인이니까
like too demoralized, and I hope you play with confidence.
더그 앞서가는 사람이 됐으면 좋겠어요.
And yeah, just overall have more confidence.
본인도 그렇게
그렇죠.
Yeah, I see. I mean, Yukao back in your rookie times, you were very confident as well.
자 그리고 어쨌든 오늘 뭐 1세트 같은 경우에는 약간 기존의 EU 메타끼리의
You know, in the first set was more like the conservative competition, the EU meta. But the second one was definitely different.
재미있는 난전을 기대하셨던 팬분들과는 다른 방향으로 승리를 가져가셨어요. 하지만 여전히 재밌는 경기도 보여줄 수 있을
You know,
거라는
like overall today,
기대가
you showed
있으니까는
very entertaining matches
기대하는
for the
또
fans.
KT 팬분들에게 한마디를 해주시면은
And would you like to say a few words to your fans before ending the interview?
저는 제가 죽는 쪽이 아닌 잘하는 쪽으로 재밌는 모습을 보여드리도록 노력하겠습니다.
I'll strive hard to show the best side of me.
또 반성의 의미도 이야기를 하신 것 같습니다. 그리고 육한 선수도 마지막에
And Yukao, you?
KT
Would like to say a few
기대하는
words
팬분들에게,
to your fan, to your KT fans?
부탁드릴게요.
이번 썸머 시즌에는 뭐 메타가 많이 바뀌기도 했지만
I mean, this summer season, there were a lot of changes going on,
남들과는 다르게 앞서 나가서 우승하겠습니다.
but we'll try our best and overpower any other teams.
많은 팬분들이 더욱더 KT 그리고 육한 선수와 러시 선수를
And there was an interview
응원해 주시지
with
않을까
KT Rush
길고
and KT
길었던
Yukao.
하루였습니다. 하루 동안 꽉 찼던 경기, 하지만 그만큼 재미있는 경기로 선수들이 채워졌기 때문에 의미 있는 하루가 아니었나 싶습니다.
Thank you very much,
서머
Andy.
스플릿은 이제 시작이니까는
And,
끝까지 응원하면서 함께 해주시면 좋을 것 같습니다.
Yukao,
그러면 모든 인터뷰
He's
여기서
certainly
마무리하도록
got a
하겠습니다.
little bit
감사합니다.
more confident since last he was interviewed.
I gotta say, he wasn't that unconfident the first time. It was still a bit new to him, but in the game, always been confident. In the interviews, getting more confident. We haven't seen the final form of Yukal, and he is a super rookie if there ever was one. And have I got a super story to tell both you, Atlas, and the OGN Legion at home? The next time KT play will be an OGN match day. It will be Saturday, and they play the Afrika Freaks in the battle of the two best teams we've seen on patch 8.11.
Yeah, you can see them at the top of the rankings right there. KT, Afrika, MVP up there as well, who we are going to be seeing tomorrow, of course. So we'll see whether they're going to be able to keep their top spot, because it's not necessarily against the top of the competition. MVP starting off a little bit light as far as their run is concerned, but did show us some good things. And so far, I mean, everyone has played now, and as far as who's looked the most impressive, I guess it's difficult to really understand. Maybe Afrika looking like the strongest team, but KT's ability to slow down the game or speed it up as they want has been very nice.
Very excited to see more of MVP. They looked great yesterday against, admittedly, BBQ. They faced Griffin in 2 winners, so we will have 2-2-0 teams at the end of the week. But of course, the big match is Saturday. That Afrika Freaks versus KT match is going to be an excellent one. You and I will be back tomorrow. We'll get the teams that played yesterday on the first match day.
Yeah.
On Live Esports and BBQ, someone has to have their first match win of the season. And then MVP versus Griffin. MVP certainly looked like the better of the two teams based on, of course, just one best-of-3s play. We've seen it, one best-of-3 from everyone. We've seen very little agreement on what should be banned, what should be first picked, what is the best way to play League of Legends. We won't know it by tomorrow. We might not know it in 2 weeks' time. I just need to know more. I need the spoilers.
Yeah.
I need to know where it's all going.
We need to understand whether the Ash pick is genius, whether there just wasn't the right idea as far as countering it. So many things still left to learn, but there's so much LCK Summer still to go. That's going to be it for us for tonight, but we'll see you all at home tomorrow. Good night.